Ladies and gentlemen.
We got some repos tonight. See what's going on in the repo world.
And wonder how people can afford these vehicles. I mean, you see these new trucks, you know, that cost 80 or 90 grand. You see these little SUVs and they're in that $40,000 to $50,000 range. And we are living in a cost of living crisis. And I don't know about you, but for myself, I look around and I wonder, how can people afford all these expensive new vehicles? Did you realize the average transaction price today is of almost $50,000 for a vehicle? And as well, a vast majority of people in their car loans are up to about $750 per month, with almost 20% of those loans being over $1,000 a month. And that's in the US side of the border. You look over a stone's throw in Canada, and the average car loan is up in that $1,200 to $1,500 a month. And I've seen lots of people driving around in trucks and SUVs that they're making payments of $2,000 a month. So how can people afford this? Well, the fact is they can't. And that's right, repossessions are grossly on the rise. We haven't seen numbers like this since way back in 2009 as a result of the fallout of this catastrophic economic crisis that existed back in 2008. Now, while the loans were flying out the doors like they were going out of style, a lot of people were able to get loans. Often, people that probably shouldn't have been able to take out loans, they've been buying cars in the last 4 or 5 years. Car manufacturers have taken gross advantage of people that aren't necessarily thinking, or certainly thinking more with their wallets and their hearts rather than their minds. Because ultimately, if you follow some of the best practices and the rule of thumb, like I often throw out there, the largest deposit, especially when interest rates are high, then the more you minimize those monthly payments. But a lot of people say, you know what, I'm going to throw a minimum down, I'm going to make these massive payments, and we'll be good. But the problem was, what they didn't realize is a lot of these prices were overinflated. There was market adjustment fees. A lot of dealers weren't negotiating, or people were just okay paying top dollar, not even asking any questions. So of course, naturally, with this, this new innovation of EVs, hybrid vehicles, expensive trucks, cars, Stellantis is a classic with their price hikes on some of their Jeeps. Prices were very high. So for vehicles and brands that were conventionally bad depreciating suspects, you typically drove that off the lot and you saw a 20 to 30% discount or depreciation value right off the hop. Now, a lot of people saw this and came into some financial hardships and realized, I've got to panic. I better get rid of this vehicle. I can't afford to make these payments. So repossessions start to rise. Other cases, negative equity, or basically underwater, is a lot of situations that people found themselves in, overpaying for these vehicles on the front end, going to try to trade it in 3 years later at the end of a possible purchase. They want to get their next vehicle, and they're trying to roll over some of that negative equity into their next car loan, and realizing, wait a minute, I've got to come up with an extra $15,000, $20,000 to get into my next vehicle just to buy my way out of this one because I overpaid brand new. And then often a lot of people are finding themselves just simply in a state of, I can't afford this. Let the bank come and take it. So according to Bloomberg News, 2024 was an absolute catastrophic year. 1.73 million vehicles were seized.
1.73 million vehicles seized. Boy, it's a lot of fake stoners out there. That's a lot of fake stoners.
By the lenders because people were defaulting. That's right, repossessions were at an alarming rate and they could no longer make their payments. The decision to eat or have a roof over their head or that new shiny pickup truck in the driveway, well, guess what hit the road first?
That's crazy.
A lot of cases, the tow truck driver, repossession driver would show up in the middle of the night, drag that truck away, and off it went.
Yeah, with repo, they don't even have to do that anymore. They got a switch that's in these new vehicles that they just hit the switch and then that's it. So, you know what I'm saying? They don't even have to use repos no more. They actually now know exactly where the vehicle is at, the vehicle location is at all times. So they have like tracking devices. I know with my new vehicle, they have a tracking device on there. So if you default on those payments, trust me, your stuff is going to be turned off.
The auctions where it was raffled off and auctioned off to try to recuperate some of the money and the loss by the lenders. Cox Automotive states that these high numbers of repossessions were actually up 16% from 2023 and up 43% from the year before. The numbers are absolutely telling and catastrophic by very nature. People cannot make their payments. So why are they buying? Well, you look around and people always want to compete with the Joneses. It's always,
That's right.
you know, your neighbor buys a car,
That's
you
right.
want to buy one better. And that
Yeah, speaking of that, we have neighbors right in front of us that did that exact same thing. They had two perfect cars, but being that my wife and I, we had three, or well, rather four vehicles, they decided that they would go and then trade in the cars that was probably paid off just to go get vehicles that they couldn't really afford just to appease somebody that they don't even really know. Yeah, so I've seen that firsthand happen.
phenomenon is going on at an alarming rate. And this is just something I never really understood. I've been in the car business a long time, and I certainly have seen a lot of these interactions. People just feeling that they need a new vehicle, or it's justified. You know, I've worked really hard, but it's called a little self-preservation.
That's correct.
And people
That's
that
right.
actually think more in a self-preservation perspective will no longer go into these kind of loans and overpay for these types of.
And that's another thing too. A lot of people look at my situation and say, where, you know what I'm saying, how did he end up with four cars? But the thing is, a lot of people don't understand that the four vehicles that we have, they all are paid for. We all have the pink slip on them. And you know, we have one other vehicle, but you know what I'm saying, that's the only one that I'm actually planning on. But all the other three cars and the trucks, is all of them is paid for. But people don't see that. The only thing that they see is where they have 4 or 5 vehicles, why we can't have 4 or 5 vehicles.
And put themselves in these predicaments. But there's a lot of people that weren't feeling that way, and sadly, they just wanted the next shiny toy. They went in there, they bought it. Even many subprime borrowers are now finding themselves repossessed upon, almost to the tune of about 7%. That's right, the numbers are up. Subprime borrowers are borrowing at extremely high interest rates these days, and that's another contributing factor. A lot of these loans will almost never be paid off by the time the bank comes a knocking. See, a big contributing factor is, even though a lot of people were still looking to buy, they sort of disregarded the interest rates, which was another major contributing factor. In February, it went up another.
That's another thing too. When you go to purchase a vehicle, you have to be looking at the interest rate. Interest rate is exactly what it says that it is. It's the interest rate. A lot of people go into these car dealerships, and that's the least thing that's on their mind is the interest rate. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be looking at the interest rate as well. Any person that's done bought vehicles at least one time should know that, you know what I'm saying, that's one of the first things that you need to be looking at is the interest rates.
Basis points on average, up to about 10.
We put it through the worst, so you get its best. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality.
10.16%, which is the highest we've seen in 4 months. So people are paying a lot of money on their interest charges on their loans alone.
That's
this,
crazy.
by very nature, has bumped up the average car payment to about $748 per month. You know, I've been screaming this for quite some time and saying, look, you have to get into what you can afford.
That's right.
Live within your means. And
Live
buying a
within
new car
your
is always
means.
a wonderful experience. Getting that set of keys to your brand new vehicle like this can always be one of those best moments in your life, next to maybe getting married, having children. This too, in fact, is one of those best moments. But unfortunately, you've got to live within your means and do it when you can afford it.
And do what you can
Higher
afford.
down payments, reduce your monthly charges,
That's
and of
right.
course, shorten up your overall loan term means that you're going to have a better level of success.
That's right.
And 2 months ago, the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau actually warned about all of this happening, the imminent numbers of repossessions that we are about to see, and now we're seeing it. It's a repocalypse, if you can say. It's a little bit of a joke, but it's no joke when people are having their vehicles
Snatched
repossessed.
from them.
But
That's right.
this all falls on the heels of not just car repossessions, credit card debt piling up, student loans that people can't pay back, as well as many mortgages that are getting foreclosed on. Now, as a result of this, you wonder, where's the controls? If people don't have self-control and they don't know how to manage their finances and live within their means, well, guess what? Rejection rates have gone up. 33.5% is the number since February, the highest that we've seen for quite some time. And many consumers are actually anticipating that banks are tightening up, and the numbers tell. They're telling the entire story, because we're seeing a lot of this credit access deterioration
Fake balling.
dropping drastically based on a lot of consumers'
Fake
attitudes, meaning that you likely won't be able to get a loan. And the assumptions that that's the case is climbing. It went from about 42.3% just in October of 24 all the way up to 46.7% today. So while there are still many people that seem to be qualifying, overspending their finances and their income levels, the fact remains is an increasing number of people are deciding to finally figure out what's going on. Repossessions are rising, cost of living's rising, of course,
Everything is
taxation's
going up.
rising, and all these increases in basis points due to the fact that inflation is still relatively high,
that's correct,
means that the cost of borrowing is just still continually climbing.
That's right.
When will this ever end? Well, it'll end when people start making the
right decisions.
to buy within their means.
That's correct.
But until that point, repossessions
Spot on,
continue to be
brother.
on the climb, and we're seeing some of the highest numbers that we've seen since way back in 2008. Please, as well as always, be sure to check out those videos. You're definitely going to love that. It's going to tell you a lot about the whole market today as it sits. And as well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you all real soon. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, give me some feedback.